like Rad, which those teams were good, but the problem is that the meta shifted. Like it's not in the Psylocke meta anymore, Shib, and that's kind of been the biggest change, I feel like. I don't know what your take is on it, but it does feel like the difference of meta and what's happened in the ban phase and the draft phase has really, you know, turned off a lot of these top up-and-coming teams.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of having a team that's versatile. I love bringing that up. I think that Rivals, as a professional, you know, esport, it does a great job of needing a team that can really roll with the punches, just due to the fact that this is one of the very few games in existence. And I will reiterate that again, as somebody who's been a gamer my entire old life, that this is one of the few games that updates so frequently, monthly, with new heroes, constant balance changes, and that translates directly into the pro scene. You know what I mean? So you need to be, as a team, versatile. So again, like you're saying, you know, it maybe makes a certain duelist not work so well, not having that Psylocke, but then you need to have something on your roster that can fill that gap, or you need to have someone that's versatile enough to practice something like a Phoenix or a Torch right now that's incredibly strong, and or jump on the strategist like we've seen some of these duelists do, and then make those adjustments and still stay as a top team, and that's super impactful in Rivals as a whole, which I personally love.
Yeah, it's going to be the constant change, the addition of new heroes like Daredevil coming out soon for our pro players. We're still on the previous patch, so in, you know, this current one, he is not out yet, and a lot of the changes that are going to come, I imagine, will be at the LAN, but we'll kind of have to see, right? Wait for the announcement to come out on social media, you know, and all that. But at the current moment, we are back where this, you know, Ultron is still pretty strong, didn't get nerfed, and builds up ult so quickly, and that's why both teams protect it. Meanwhile, the Jeff favoritism for DarkZero again in FlyQuest, they are kind of, this is kind of the change that we've seen, Shib, is a lot of people prioritizing how strong Invisible Woman is, less focused towards Luna Snow because of, you know, everything in terms of pace of play that Invisible Woman could bring in terms of peel. There's so much that character provides. On top of that, they're letting the Jeff go through because a lot of teams we've seen, they're dealing with it now, Shib. They're being able to deal with these good Jeff players and prepare for their ults.
Yeah, I think that's something that's been very different from early on here in Stage 2 than as to what we've seen over the past few days. Or maybe it's just a quality of teams conversation, but I will definitely agree with you in that teams are not finding nearly as many successful Jeff ults, and if they are going for those plays, a lot of the time they're just used to burn cooldowns and find their own safety when they know the play won't work out, or if something's in the sky like a Meteor Ram or something to counter. And yeah, I'd agree with you. It's definitely been a shift up, and we've definitely seen changes in the ban phases already. So I can't imagine as that develops and as we switch through patches what's going to change. And that brings back the conversation of who are going to be meta. And I'll tell you what, Daredevil, incredibly fun. Been hands-on today. I'm sure a lot of the folks here watching have checked out Daredevil. And yeah, I mean, just a ton of fun to play, and hoping to see some presence here in the scene as we progress forward.
Yeah, I've been spending too much time watching the VODs, and I haven't been able to play them yet, man. I'm gonna load in after today's cast for sure, and you know, go out there as a blind man and, you know, hopefully get some KOs. But now we start out today, Shib, and you know, DarkZero, this team has been improving, but can they take down FlyQuest, right? Can they qualify for LAN here today? Because that's what's on the line right now, Shib, right? If we saw the last teams, right, in the lower bracket, those were elimination games. So they're just going to be out of the tournament. That's your tournament life on the line. But right now, it's kind of a different, you know, sort of circumstance, Shib, where if you win right now, you qualify for Atlanta, and you're going to be in those grand finals.
Yeah, it's a whole nother level of pressure, right? It's a different kind of pressure, but it also, you can feel it. It's butterflies in your stomach. It's the same thing, but instead of, you know, having that more stress on your back, it's more so just the angst of wanting to be there and making it happen. But here we go, off rip now. Ultron drone going to be sitting here on energy up in the sky. Oh, that would have been an insane pull opportunity there. I like the idea of you using a Rocket's jump for something like that. Not something I've seen a ton in this tournament, but big brain plays as energy finds one on Impunity off the rip. Vision going to be on the sky here with Ultron. This is one of those maps, and as I say that, Vision falls from Amazing, and Impunity comes right back from the res on the BRB on Rocket now. Smash, as you can see in the bottom right on controller, that's Amazing on the screen there, but Smash maybe doing a little camera switch up, but still gonna press forward and hold on to this point. And at the moment, DarkZero maintaining position, but Fly still holding one body on.
Yeah, DarkZero really taking advantage of the fact that they had that Emma Frost in the fight. Energy trying to do everything he can to bring it back for FlyQuest after losing fast. He's going to come back on Magneto, but it's not enough. The pressure's too much from that Psylocke, from that Emma Frost. And right now, DarkZero look well practiced. Their ban phase working out. And oh my goodness, aggressive play from Smash 2 on the backline, forcing out so many cooldowns and still getting eliminations with the help from the dive. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we talk about how Psy maybe not as prevalent in the meta. Still can do stuff like that, getting out incredibly quickly quickly, farming it off the front line, going right into the back line. If they don't have an answer, if they're unwilling to use that answer in the moment, goodbye to the back line as we see 2 fall and DarkZero 24% on FlyQuest. We'll have 4 alts, 5 going to be on the side of DarkZero, and excuse me, almost 6 here for Fly in this next fight. There will be the availability 6, but let's see what they do as immediately Sonic Seduction comes out now, walking forward from Madara. Does that find value? Does get Vest walking. Cooper gonna pop out and just keep the team healthy with the dance floor here. Fate of both worlds, walking them forward, damage boost out. Madara trying to drop back. Amazing now. Ooh, out of the sky. Energy with a nice shot from downtown. Gonna find one, but Amazing right back in the fight with the BRB, which has happened again and turns the tides of the fight back their way. Will this land on Jeff? It does, but there is protection, and that is huge. 2 alts, not finding a ton of value, just juking for days, and does get dropped there, but that's a lot of value from Kurova.
Yeah, I mean, he bought time, right? That's he didn't have to maybe find those KOs, but did a good job staying alive through all of those one-shots, which we rarely see, Shib. But at the current moment, FlyQuest still have ultimate advantage. They're able to walk on DarkZero. Here comes Smash on the backside, finds one. If he can find multiple here, or at least get them low enough, they're going to be down a lot of healing, Shib, and that keeps DarkZero on the point.
Yeah, I mean, just obscene play here. Really smart play by Smash. Already 82% here for DarkZero. And again, for those who maybe play the game on the controller, on the stick, Smash showing up here for those who do, showcasing how strong you can be on the controller, despite whether you're on console or PC, and you can definitely make it happen. Zelos, though, going to find Madara in the sky. Early pick there for Fly, but at this point, they need a ton, as they did have to burn out that portal, too, to get back here. Again, holding on now, but 99% for DarkZero early on here on map 1, game 1.
Yeah, I mean, they're going for the dive, trying to counter dive it now is FlyQuest, and they actually do so quite well. Everybody coming back to Peel. They finally stave off DarkZero, who stalled out this point, Shib, and we always talk about how strong it is to control the point, right? How committing ultimates just to hold on to the objective for a little bit is huge, right, for your team moving forward. Also, DarkZero has just stalled off in these dives. They're sort of like long-term dives where they go in for the back line, they go in for the KO. They don't always find it. Sometimes they get traded, you know, but because of the Rocket BRB advantage, they're always back in the fight. Now FlyQuest have a lot of ultimates to work with, right? How do they want to commit in this fight? If they overcommit, that would bode well for DarkZero. They're going to try to force out as many ults as they can out of FlyQuest here, and if you get a W on top of that, that'd be big.
Exactly. That's a great call out for those who are maybe climbing ladder. That is the huge advantage at this level of play. A missed ult or an opportunity wasted with an ultimate is enough to lose you the game. So right here, FlyQuest does have ult advantage, but DarkZero just needs to win one fight. So every ult needs to be crucial as that lands onto Kurova. Speaking of which, one goes down, trades with an ult. That's big value there for FlyQuest. Cooper brings out the dance floor. Energy goes up with the Kraken, looking for one. Does find 2. Can they get those picks, though? Out goes the boundary, and walking is Energy towards the Sonic Seduction. Spark Chief now. Beast of the Abyss on the back line, on the front line, excuse me. Not going to be able to make much happen, but what is this tech? This is crazy to see there from the Venom. I've seen that a few times. Those who can hold on, but that was clean.
Yeah, it's insane. Just like running around the point. Venom, this is his point, right? And his map. But at the current moment, DarkZero trying to hold on, trying to come back in this fight. I mean, FlyQuest building up that time bank at the current moment, shit.
Yeah, again, Energy now saying sit down, Smash still gonna walk forward. Smash was showing up like crazy in this match. Energy trying to turn those tides around. Kurova falls. Energy with a 2-piece. Do I see 3 all in the neutral here, now at 94%, and this is what Fly does. Calm, cool, and collected. Portal still available for DarkZero at the moment, but the staggers are really happening here as Madara falls now. If they get another at this point, it's gonna be dicey for DarkZero, who have no ults to commit just yet.
Yeah, none at the current moment. They do have that res to bring back Madara, but Madara goes down again, and this has been brutal. FlyQuest have always kind of capitalized on these sort of Emma Frost bans and protects, or rather saves. Madara, this time around, has to even get up on Emma Frost because he went down earlier. Smash falls again to the peel of Energy, who's been popping the heck off.
Yeah, it seems like Energy has been studying Smash's plays here, because Smash was really making that happen for the first 3 fights, and now consistently now Energy finding value again.
God.
That is going to get shut down. We talk about countering Jeff. Exhibit A, folks. Make it a 2-piece. Why don't you? As Amazing falls from Vision, keeping the pressure on. Kraken Impact looking for 2. Energy is going to make that happen. Why don't you make it 3 as they take map 1?
Man, Energy's so good. I mean, a couple things from that fight, Shib, on Celestial Vault, like you mentioned. I think at first we saw the Jeff, like the peel come through with the Rocket Raccoon, see you later with a bunch of strategists, or rather, you know, the shields, everybody kind of coming in to save the Jeff. you're getting almost over commitment to save the Jeff, but it's just like not worth it at this point, right? Just because of how much damage that FlyQuest are doing, how much they're focusing on it, right? We saw Energy and Visions, and then Spark Chief open up the fight earlier. You know, just like so much prioritization towards that Jeff, making sure that he can't get a single ult off. And if FlyQuest can't do it, I don't know if anybody can, right? Or sorry, if DarkZero can't do it, I don't know if anybody can, because at the current moment, I mean, it looked like they had so much PO for the Jeff. They played well around it, but maybe we got to see what those other Jeffs are doing, right? Just kind of not actually going for anybody, just kind of ulting and then falling back. Maybe would be a good change up for DarkZero, because at the current moment, they're giving all of the PO to Kurova, and it's simply not enough to FlyQuest, who, you know, we talk about Vision, we talk about the whole lineup, but Energy, man, is so good at Bucky as well. There's so many good Bucky players in the tournament. Energy is definitely one of them.
And the tricky thing is, if you're going to run that Jeff, you want to have some sort of solution to help Jeff make big plays. We found some good eats there from the side of Kurova, but you really don't have much besides Cap trying to reflect in that moment. Maybe Madara going to throw a shield there from Emma to protect you, but when you have Magneto, that bubble, it like really helps Jeff get success. Usually counters and all almost, you know, guaranteed if you're playing it smart. And every single time Jeff's gone under, Energy goes up, and it's been consistent. We've seen Vest popping up there a few times with the Meteor Red founds to counter that as well. Good play there. There's Kurova find again. DarkZero off early. Vest, though, going to find Smash, evening those numbers. Cooper, who was up and healing by about 5,000 already, that's just what Luna does, is going to pop that Fate of Both Worlds. Energy onto Madara. Energy consistently getting picks. Another one of those in conversation for the best duelists in the game right now, at least in the Americas region. Meteor M goes up, and that's right in the mouth of a rocket. Velocity falls, Impunity goes down, Amazing falls, and Fly is looking like they'll take this first point.
Yeah, they take the point, and it's pretty cool to see too, Shib, that they were playing, you know, Energy on that Bucky instead of the Phoenix. You know, we've heard a lot of people talk about how good Phoenix is. They only had the Star-Lord ban against them, right? That was the change up that DarkZero had in that ban phase. They're not even going for the Phoenix though, and that makes sense. Like we talked about stats wise, at least just in ranked. I mean, Energy is one of the best at this character on the opposite side, so they're trying to change it up. Shiv, they're going to go over to that Adam Warlock alongside the Bucky to try to take advantage of their matchup. But you know, right now it's going to be an interesting matchup in terms of one team has that Ultron and one has the Adam Warlock and a Jeff.
Yeah, that's kind of a tricky thing, right? That is the switch up here. Gonna get Ultron off, like you're saying. You know, we've seen off the screen here, right? Energy gonna find Velocity off rip, but this is, again, one of those compositions I think is tricky. It has worked in the past. It's one of those unique things that teams don't necessarily always practice against, because it's two quote-unquote off strategists that can do unique things, but aren't typically always played together. Vision gonna find Kurova, though, again, countering that right up. Smash onto Zelos now as DarkZero is trying to put the numbers back in their favor. 54% here for Fly, after losing 99% off rip, have had a consecutive 158% straight on the board. Amazing with a huge res, though, as the whole team back at it, and they're walking in heavy now. Out goes the Psionica to find a few. Energy looking for a big pull here, and there is one. It's going to find the cap of the front line of Impunity, but it does not get too much success. There will be another pull entered into the game here with Daredevil coming up in the next patch, and you can actually animation cancel that to force them towards you instead of meeting halfway, which is a cool little trick. Dropping back to point now. Vest still holding on, but that's the name of the game now for Fly. Stay here until you lose everything. Force as many ults as possible. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you get KO'd on point by as much time as possible.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to keep stalling it out, you know, up to 99 surely. I mean, they find velocities in the backside. I like how DarkZero playing it now, though, right? Switching up the composition, getting that huge res from Amazing into Madara, you know, just hero. Vest also pulls back. They want to still win this fight in the sky. Ultimate, aggressive, rising down.
And the pressure goes on. Energy gonna find Smash. Vision up in the air right now, keeping the pressure on once more. Kurova trying to make a play, finds one, but again, Vest gonna counter that, who comes back as Strange. Very aggro here on the portal. Whole team getting value again, and it's looking once more in Fly's favor. Can they shut this down? There's 7% on. The portal is likely going to come through here, as Amazing was already up here with Strange. Yes, here it comes. But at this point, 99% to 27. They need one more fight, and it is over.
Yeah, I mean, this team is unrelenting. I don't even know how you beat them at this current moment, because they are always in a fight, even when it feels like they're not. Into the sky, though, Spark Chief gets taken down by Impunity. FlyQuest, they're actually pushed off the point again, so DarkZero, same thing for them. They're unrelenting at the current moment as they take that point back shift because of a good portal by Amazing, like you mentioned, and then taking advantage of their momentum shift. FlyQuest also, you know, they're going to have to come back into that Emma Frost. DarkZero could build up some of that point percentage. but it's always scary with Vision in the sky onto that Ultron. This team, I think they have a current composition that is super geared towards this sort of line of Energy and Vision being a hit scan player. Kind of same thing for Energy, so it's a good patch for them in the current moment. DarkZero have to kind of peel off this dive coming from Spark Chief. They've done it before. Also, FlyQuest have double shrouded his ultimates. DarkZero only have their Luda Snow. I mean, Kurova has his. They can play around it, but they lose Smash early.
And down goes Kurova. Energy, exactly like you said, finding Smash is numbers up, and unfortunately Smash did have that Kraken impact. Vest again gonna shut down Kurova mid-alt, and that is a consistent theme here. Vest popping off with that. Right, Mizing finds one, but Vest right back to Madara. Out goes the eye. Does this one land? It does, and again, FlyQuest looking numbers up, holding on to the point, battling back, still maintaining this position. Very close to point now, trying to find another pick here on Amazing. Kraken impact gonna make that happen. Vision onto Smash once more. Smash not going to be able to make that all happen once again. Very unfortunate as Energy takes out Impunity. Make that a two-piece onto Kurova, and that's a three-piece. Still holding this point. 99 to 99 now, though, folks. But now FlyQuest will be holding on to the point. OT ticking down. No portal available. The Staggerfest begins, and FlyQuest likely will take this one home.
Yeah, what a map from FlyQuest on the second round. I mean, that was such an interesting last fight because we see Madara maybe didn't even have to fall. Now, I'm not saying they would have won the fight because there was still double shrouded ults, right? You still had Invisible Boundary up. They had advantage because they lose Kurova earlier as well. You're lacking that other Invisible Woman, for example, on the back line. But he was in damage boost while Madara went down. Like, they had time, and I don't know if he had Diamond Form still. He probably didn't, but like, he was in the middle of that dance floor. Kurova was just on the damage boost for too long, and they lose Madara. But you know, it doesn't come down to just that lost fight. You know, I mean, it's not always that one insane play that can be the dictator of it. It's the consistency, and, you know, FlyQuest have it. Look at that damage output from Energy and how many security eliminations he's getting, Shib. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of big call outs here. Again, for those who maybe don't know, when you are using Bucky, if you launch that Kraken impact, anyone that falls with that red marker on them or that KO percentage, it guarantees KO goes over to that Bucky. So that's why you'll typically see Buckies with a lot more KOs. But even though that is the case, 23 is absolutely obscene in a quick domination like that in two maps. 35 and 3 is wild to say out loud. The entire stat line of the team is just dominant. Looking over at the strats of the opposition on DZ, I mean, Kurova, even on the Jeff, 22k healing is wild. Actually topping heals across the board, even against something like Luna from Velocity at the end there, which obviously there was some change ups. But again, I just think as a whole, Fly just did not panic and found their footing and never let up.
Yeah, the Jeff Protect, I think, is going the way of the Dodo at the moment, Shib. It's like, it's not really worth it. Like, we didn't see enough value, I think, out of the Jeff. And we saw it maybe once. Like, that was FlyQuest, like, sort of making mistakes more than, like, you know, Kurova's ult actually being worth using, you know? Like, it just felt like at the moment, FlyQuest...
Juke, yeah. Like in underground juke, yeah.
I think at the moment, FlyQuest looks so good, right? That's the biggest thing moving forward, and Energy does too. Like, this guy we don't talk about nearly enough. I mean, he is the engine behind FlyQuest. He is, or was, the up-and-coming prod, and really has, you know, lived into that role and filled into that role quite well, Shib. This guy truly has been insane. Like, I know we've been talking about Vision, the new pickup for this roster, but he's made this roster more well-rounded, and Energy is that, like, main driving force of it. The reason why FlyQuest is good is because of this guy, and on top of the supporting cast.
Yeah, it's another one of those conversations, and somebody, I think Cozy actually with the conversation with me today mentioned, he's like, you know, Energy is got to be in the conversation for one of the top duels. I was like, absolutely. I mean, just absolutely, and consistently getting MVPs. Similar conversation with Terra, right? Yesterday we saw 3 back-to-back MVPs. Energy always performs, at least recently, and I'm, you know, Caster Curse, who knows what's going to happen the next map, but it is just, despite the hero, it still finds success. We've seen a ton of different heroes there, so again, big shout out there with some insane play.
Yep, they've filled up the roster really well. I mean, Energy has been crazy, but we'll see if they can maintain that momentum, Shib, as we enter map number 2 after this short break.
Welcome back, everyone. We saw the first map go to Fly, but again, 99 to 99 both times. DZ definitely showing up. Just a little bit of a compositional difference, I believe, in the moment. It was tough to see some success into some big counters from the side of DZ. But again, FlyQuest looking lights out in those moments, struggling at first and bouncing back from then on.
Yep, FlyQuest look to maintain their momentum, and it's kind of at least somewhat a decent ground for DarkZero to be in now, shit, because at least when we looked at the stats, right, they already were kind of suboptimal at domination. That was their worst map type, just going 4-4. Right, and you know, on the opposite side for FlyQuest, like, yeah, they're pretty good at domination, but they're also good at everything, right? At the current moment, they're that good. They're like one of those teams that's you know, maybe that one pickup of vision was enough to send them over the top, right? It's not that they had any lackluster duelist play, it's more that like the duo of energy wasn't vision. I think that's the main thing, right? I think we talked to Vess about it before in an interview. It's like, you know, we just don't have any weak links. It's not even shade towards any of their past duelists. It's just that vision is that good. And, you know, you even heard that from his ex-teammates and Nuck. And, you know, when he was on Shroud X, people were talking about him in this way. And we were like, oh, is that really true? You know, Shroud X keep losing. Why is that the case? But no, it's because, you know, maybe the team wasn't built that well at the current moment because, I mean, FlyQuest look insane. And really that addition of visions kind of sends them into that upper echelon with maybe even, you know, teams like Envy, who they've beat, and then teams like VP on the opposite side of the world.
Yeah, again, it's the conversation of there's going to be metas where folks who maybe are on the roster or maybe have been removed from the roster would succeed better than a current roster, right? It's all about who's more consistent and who has the flexibility, and maybe that is what they were looking for, and they found that, and clearly it has been working. Goodbye to the Jeff here from the side of DarkZero, first ban out, and then Mantis locked out, which again, no huge surprise here, very similar to what we've been seeing.
Yep, no surprise. And I think that's interesting too, that when we talk about that, Chib, it's like it is kind of also meta dependent, because like we said, like we saw with Rad and we saw with Dreamland, which Ultron protects yet again coming through. DarkZero prioritizing that Jeff. Don't really agree with that personally, but you know, maybe Velocity and them think that it's a good play. They're sticking with the same ban phase, and if they move into Convergence, that makes sense. But you know, a lot of these teams really do well based on the patch ship, like we saw with Dreamland and Rad. Like they were a Psylocke heavy team, and now that Psylocke was sort of changed and maybe not as good like we saw in the last game with DarkZero still playing the Psylocke Emma team up, and it's still solid, it still makes its due. But the real value is like playing heroes like the Bucky, man, like playing the Phoenix. These characters have been constantly meta since like release, and it just seems like they keep getting buffed. I mean, we have freaking 2 E's now for Bucky. Like, why is this character getting buffed? It's just unbelievable how long this character's been good for.
Yeah, the idea is just to shut down some of that annoying, more divey brawl stuff, which you're right, it needs to be answers, but that is a big answer if you ask me. You see the lock-in here from the side of Fly of that invis, which again, you know, that's going to be looking more towards Zealous, and you see that lock-in of Jeff, which I know you maybe are a little bit, you know, concerned about, but
this is the same there. Well, this is the same draft phase, ship. Like, this is the exact same draft phase for DarkZero. And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be too opposed to it because it was map 1 and DarkZero are, you know, look rough on domination compared to how they look on Convergence and other map types. So, I don't know, ship. I don't want to be too harsh, I guess. But if they lose this one, I mean, that may definitely need some changes. The problem is, if you lose this one, you go down 0-2, right? And reverse sweeps are very, very hard to do, especially since we haven't seen any yet in the playoffs. I mean, the top team always has been winning, so it's going to be really scary just statistically.
Yeah, it's funny because all throughout the past tournaments, there's been a ton of upsets, and it's, you know, you and I, even in experience in finals together, which we've had a fair amount of experience with, there's been so many reverse sweeps. It's like an insane curse. So you'd expect to see similar stuff here, but right now there's just been a clear line where these teams that are strong are clearly owning this meta and really making things happen. And granted, those teams are soon going to be playing each other and are literally starting with this game right here as we're at the upper side bracket. But you know, Fly, again, the conversation with the best team, you know, in the Americas region, you know, in the world too, right? As they're potentially going to be heading to Atlanta. So it is just a tough one to go against here for DarkZero, but they do have the talent. Let's see if they can make it happen here on attack. And we begin on the high side.
And it's funny too, because if we look at Visions, I mean, he's sort of like the prototype that came after the, you know, people like Rymazing. Like, he's in this similar boat of a really good Namor, really good hit scan player, and it's sort of taken the limelight away from Rymazing, who was that position, or in that position earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. That is, and Uriah is still that guy. You know what I mean? That's the thing about the talent in this level. There's so much of it, and it is very much a team game. And there's a billion cogs in this wheel, and it's all about making sure all those pieces are working. Because if one isn't working, it can impact everything else. So it's very difficult to judge. As a viewing standpoint, just for those who are maybe in the chat and the audience watching, very difficult to judge performance based on stats. You really need to dive into the full match breakdown to see where things went wrong, instead of just kind of hardcore blaming folks for maybe seeing a misplay. So we're going to start off here as Vest is now going to press forward, driven right back into this corner. This is one of those things to take into ladder. If you're being pressed heavy, drop back into that building together and use that as a power position. Come back out when you have the ult like that. Smash going to find Sparchief coming back out before giving the point. That's all that matters. They don't care about the first 2 points. They just want to make sure they own before it gets into that push mode here. They just want to make sure they maintain this position. Energy going to find Velocity, and the end song lands. That one does not get much value. Vision going to find Impunity, and again FlyQuest making big things happen. This is one of those Jeff maps that's a threat, and Kurova is crawling around the back line.
Yeah, this is a fight that you would assume DarkZero would win, but because of how FlyQuest bunkered up, like you mentioned, Shiv, that's a great call out. Like, Vest is one of the best peeling vanguards in the game, and if you have duelists that are like Energy and maybe even the backline that's as lethal as Cooper and Zelos, that's gonna happen. Upcoming fight though, DarkZero at least have ults. FlyQuest also just used a lot of theirs, so this is the opportunity for DarkZero, but they need to not lose anybody here.
Dropping back now. Vest holding on to the Meteor M. That will be used here. Will that be able to get value? There's that bubble to counteract, and that is what we're talking about. Essentially free counters and all. And whoa, not only getting one with the counter, we're going to find Vision out of the sky there. Madara with a 2-piece now. As Energy goes down, Smash is going to pop up with the dance of the butterfly. Goodbye, Vest. And Zelos goes down to Rising. Everybody on the side of DarkZero finding one, and they will get the first point.
A big thing I like to mention, Shib, and this is kind of a constant talking point that I brought up, and if it's annoying, let me know. But like, I feel like in every team, every team has an X factor, right? They have their best player for sure. Like, they have their best players in Energy, in Visions, in DarkZero. Has Smash and Rising. But the X factor for this team is really Madara. This guy, when he's playing well, this team wins, right? Madara needs to do that again. It's really hard. It's a lot to ask of your Magneto player. But when Madara pops off, this team does well. We'll see if we can do it again.
And that's going to be a nice... I do agree with you, actually. I do think that there are teams that play... I mean, most all teams play around a win condition, and that condition can very much change based on who gets to the banning phase, right? And that's something that we could get even deeper into in terms of conversation where others can excel. For example, maybe slept on in the conversation just from a Vanguard standpoint. Vest has been playing lights out on Vanguard, and Sparchief with a ton of success. We saw, popping off yesterday, even things like Vinny over there on 100 Thieves. So just a lot of different Vanguard success stories, too, and the backline with these Ultron, with these triple strap plays need to be perfect. Coming in again, Cooper going to find Amazing Energy, trying to take out Impunity in the sky, who just barely gets away. Great shield there by Madara to keep the team healthy. Ult advantage going to be slightly here for DarkZero on this retake fight, as the point is about halfway there to point 2.
A huge fight win from FlyQuest there off of some nice plays from Energy. Now in this upcoming fight, they have the Meteor M ready to go for Amazing yet again in the sky. Sparchief also has done so much with these Feasts of the Abyss. He's been a thorn on the side of DarkZero. They have to set up Kurova. Madara has to go big again.
And again, walking forward, DarkZero, like we had said, 6 ults available. Amazing committing with a rage right now. Going to keep the team healthy with the last bit there. Did drive a little bit of space. Doesn't find much value. Vest going to take Amazing right out of the sky. Goodbye to the Ultron. Numbers now in the side of Fly, who do have similar ults, if not more. Vest finds Kurova with a counter. No bubble available there. Not able to get there is Madara, unfortunately, for the side of DarkZero, now dropping back. Sparchief going to find Madara now. Very aggro there on the Venom, who is insanely prevalent at this level of play. Venom, a force to be reckoned with, who now will have anti-heal there on his ult in the next patch. So definitely a target for bans, if you ask me. Just an incredibly strong hero.
When you saw that last fight, Zelos won it for them. Force physics under Amazing. They're not even using the Meteor M for the Ultron's Rage, and that's definitely boding well for them. In the sky, Vision still sitting with the Ultron's Rage to sustain as well, keeping his Vanguards healthy. DarkZero try to walk up, but oh my god, Energy has shut down Velocities again. That removes the BRB advantage they had.
Yeah, and I mean, right off the rip there, you talked about Zelos, a great shield to play around from the back line, helping out Cooper, who was getting dove there by Impunity, and that's why they keep that Invis in here. Zelos is disgusting on Invis, that force physics, the not only using the orb, but now the speed reduction in that ultimate. You can play aggro with that ult, and you make something happen. If anyone makes a dive play towards the back line, if you force out that ult, it is very difficult to get out of there, especially when you have force physics to pull them right back in. So, again, a terrifying force to deal with. That's why you see a lot more of Invis at this level of play. Just so much utility to that kid.
Absolutely. They actually started off too, but oh my goodness, in the middle of all of these fights, Energy just keeps finding KOs, and this needs they need to change something up now. And you know, I think it's now maybe time as well to blame the ban phase, right? DarkZero has lost like 4 or 5 fights in a row. If they can get something together, sure, that'd be nice, but just going based off momentum, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't cap out the whole map. They have a very low percentage to win because FlyQuest have all of these ult shit. They have every ult. They've been playing consistently with the Meteor M to counter Korova, and then in the sky, Vision's been dominating with those force physics from Zelos.
Yeah, again, not overcommitting ults. Again, going back to that conversation, playing ult, and as I say that, 3 go out. Sparchief gonna find 1. Energy gonna get that reset on a Madara. They are committing heavy now. 3 ults available for DarkZero. 15 seconds on, but the point is right here. Won't take long to make sure you get that OT. Again, gotta touch the point with 3 seconds on as Madara finds Energy. Will they be able to play off this? They gotta use this momentum. Sparchief gonna walk them right back. Velocity gonna drop back into the spawn here. Impunity gonna be jumping all over the place to stay up now. Again, Zelos gonna commit that invisible boundary. Vest holding on here with Vision, trying to match Korova like you had mentioned, and great bubble there from Madara to keep Korova moving. Will they be able to counter? Not quite. 2 in there is going to be a huge play if they fall off, and Cooper goes down, but I believe Zelos holds on. It's a matter of getting back to that point together. Either way, DarkZero with a good set of plays there, and will have ultimate advantage in this next fight. Can they clutch up here? Point 2.
Yep, 2 mistakes there by FlyQuest. Energy going too aggressive. It was definitely an over Zelos play for what he did, or Zelos play going aggressive with that Bucky ult outside of his team, and then his team also trying to clutch up without him. So that's how confident FlyQuest is right now, though, Ship. They think they can win any fight, even down their engine of duelists in terms of energy. But can DarkZero take advantage now? They finally do.
Yeah, that's a huge play there by Smash and Amazing to follow up and use those ults before they come through the side of Fly. Commit while you can, and that's where ult tracking is very important. If you know you're up in ults, do it before they can heal that front line. Do it before the strategists get a big play or the duelists, and if you can make that happen quick enough, you get a free point, as we're seeing here, driven right back into the front. Zelo's not going to be able to make that portal happen. Team's going to reset together.
Yep, good job by Impunity to realize the situation. Portal or block them out of the spawn. And you know what? I didn't account for the fact that FlyQuest, you know, could just throw like that. Like, we've seen them go too aggressive, be overly confident, and lose the second phase. So huge shout out to DarkZero to take advantage of it, right? That's going to be big. If they can play consistent against DarkZero or against FlyQuest, that's going to be massive, because when we talk about FlyQuest and how good of a team they've been, it's because of their consistency. It's because they don't make mistakes. But when they do that, when they send Energy in and then try to ult in fights that are pretty much lost, that could definitely bode well for DarkZero and lead to the demise of FlyQuest.
Yeah, I agree. Overconfidence is difficult to handle, because if you're feeling like you're going to make something happen as a team, you do overcommit an ult that you're down in numbers, or you know, you really don't combine an ult that should be played well together, or something along those lines. Any of those small mistakes are game losing, and you can't allow that to get in your head. Even if you know you're feeling confident as a team and things are looking up for you on the defense, things like this can happen, where now they're walking to point 3, almost are at the staircase. Energy going to find Madara though, and turn this back into FlyQuest's favor, and Madara comes right back into the fight though, holding on tight. Out goes the hold. Can Energy make something else happen? Kraken Impact gonna go up onto the jet. Bang, comes down. Korova might be, yeah, does find one on a Cooper there, but still gonna fall from Energy. Either way, decent trade as it is the Luna. Ton of healing there. Energy trying to commit with the Kraken Impact once more. Finds a ton. Can they get the reset? He does not get the reset, at least not yet.
No, I mean, he keeps diving so deep for velocities, and it's almost worth it, right? Because he's in there creating space, forcing out that Rocket Raccoon healing, and then, oh my goodness, Vest shuts down the rocket, sends him back to the dumpster diving maybe character that he definitely is. And at the current moment, FlyQuest look, they're going to hold on, and over time, DarkZero tries to pull back.
Oh, what do you mean? Rocket's not a raccoon. Oh, and that is going to be a pushback out of the portal. And that is a hold. But either way, again, like you're saying, a little bit of a overzealous play there from the side of Fly that cost them a point. But now they are going to be on the offense. Can they push through? We'll find out shortly.
Yes, we talk about like the Shrieks phase of the game, especially against like in the current patch, I guess, and with Bucky. it is just hard versus on defense because of how much damage output that guy provides. And, you know, like, yeah, if you get held 3, 4, 5 times in a row, like, we're starting to see a pattern there, right? Like, it's not necessarily insanely hot of a take to say that, okay, this team is not going to cap out the map if that happens, right? Like, you are being shoved into your spawn door. That is the equivalent of being embarrassed, basically, in this game. And now for Team DarkZero, how can they play this on defense, right? They got it pretty far. Like, honestly, that's still pretty solid of a time to make it to, or sorry, distance to make it to. And look at the stats, right? Madara was popping off on Magneto. We know Vanguard players can do a little bit more damage on defense too. So this could definitely bode well for DarkZero on their hold, right? If they change it up a little bit, maybe, you know, just win a couple of those crucial fights, that'd be huge. Because FlyQuest also, we're trying to play a comp that's sort of bunkering, right? Anchoring down together. They're going to have to mix it up on their offense too. It looks like they're going to change it up, go off Bucky, go to Phoenix, maybe something that's a little bit more proactive with setting up plays.
Yeah, I do agree, and you can kind of see that in the different take here they have on that back line. It's, you know, you're using Rocket for the main line heals at the moment. You're going to go for plays here with Rymazing and Kurova on that Ultron Jeff. It's really about making a dive attempt on that bunker's back line and hoping you get the pick, and then just kind of collapsing from there and making big plays happen. Defense starts Fly with some good maneuvering. Best is going to find Kurova off the rip there, and that is a huge start here for FlyQuest now walking back towards DarkZero. The res was a little bit too far away, not able to happen there for DarkZero. And Kurova's gonna have to walk back here as fast as possible to get back to these fights. The team is gonna drop back into this bunker zone that we talked about before, and they are still gonna make this happen at the moment, but that will get deleted instantly there on the off angle. Well done by Sparkchief to find that res and shut that down. Vest again onto Smash, Vision onto Impunity, and FlyQuest are already turning this in their favor.
Oof, brutal, brutal, brutal. I mean, like, we saw Kurova go towards the spawn of FlyQuest. He's just, you know, looking to set up his silly Jeff plays, but FlyQuest was having none of that. I mean, they just hunted him down with the whole squad. Vest finds that pick. You know, they did a good job peeling off, like, living, right? Velocity lives on Rocket. They're going to switch things up, though. They're going to Invisible Woman. They're changing up their comp entirely to sort of match FlyQuest now, and I actually don't mind this. They also still get that Emma Frost alongside the Groot, and in the front-to-back style, this should do well. But we've seen Sparkchief do well against this comp, and oh no, Energy finds the opening pick.
Yeah, that's a good start. Again, Energy doing what Energy does, getting that early pick, walking in now with the Rage of Ultron. Vision going to find Kurova again onto Rymazing, trying to make it a 3-piece as Impunity goes down from Vest, still walking right at the door, and this is that momentum shift that we have talked about 100 times. DarkZero needs to get out this door, get a pick, and turn things around, because at this point, FlyQuest is going to hold them at this door. And the only way out may be a portal, but you don't want to have to do that here on this point before you even get a chance to fight.
Yeah, this team is damn good, man. Here comes the Meteor M with the Phoenix combination. Boom, connection onto Smash.
Yeah, gets traded right back with Impunity, and that might be the change they needed. Vest falls, and there goes that shield in the front line. Can they walk out? Rymazing going to commit the Rage of Ultron. Sparkchief going to hit to the skies here with Venom. Full HP, ready to dive on that back line with Feast of the Abyss. Will come out shortly. Waiting for the right timing, trying to make it both happen. Unfortunately, not able to get through the shield there from the Luna during that Fit of Both Worlds. So that was a good idea. Doesn't manage to work. Kurova going to find Zelos. Rymazing onto Cooper. And now DarkZero gets a few picks and are going to hold on in that fight. And that's what they needed to give themselves a chance here. 4 minutes on.
Yeah, they found themselves always constantly coming back to Peel, right? And the composition wasn't really boding well for that, right? They didn't have Invisible Woman, they had Rocket Raccoon, and they didn't have the Vanguards for it to help Madara. Now they switch it up. Now they also put that Groot back on the lobby, and they actually peel off that dive well. So from a good job with this front-to-back style, and honestly, their comp looks pretty solid on this front-to-back gameplay against FlyQuest, who, if they string together a few fights, they would have a good shot on defense.
Yeah, I like this compositional change. Kurova is also very good at Invisible Woman, and we are going to see that change. Impunity got to find Cooper early on there. Could have been a product of the slow from the Invisible Boundary. Everybody dropping back as Rymazing finds Sparkchief. Again, these trades are good for the side of DarkZero, who are up in alts, but Vest will be available for alt next fight. You'll have Madara, Impunity, Rymazing, and Smash for DarkZero, though, who, again, they just need to play slow and make sure they don't overcommit. Keep this defense going and try to make sure you at least push it to OT so you have a better chance there on point 3 for the defense, or if not, shut it down here and keep making big plays with individual alts.
Energy trying to look for something right now at the moment. I mean, they got that combination with him and Vest again, but DarkZero aware of that. Last time they dealt with it well. They've got ultimates to deal with it too in this upcoming fight. Maybe with Rymazing, maybe with some other players, but here comes that Sonic Seduction in the back line. And here comes the Meteor M combination, but they break the Unsung Inferno in the sky.
That was good focus there. Madara and Psionic does not manage to get anyone walking at the moment on the side of Fly. Cooper holding on to all Zelos as well. Dance floor is going to match, and they have good focus on Amazing. Kurova, Velocity. Oh, they doubled up. Velocity, Kurova, Smash, and Impunity all committing ults. That is a tough look at the moment. Will switch to damage boost, but that is one of those mistakes you cannot be making. Energy going to find Impunity. They're going to walk now as those ults fall, and Spark Chief with a 3-piece now is walking into point 2. But oh, that is a tough look. There's that overcommitment we were talking about.
Yeah, and I don't want to flame controller players, but in that fight, Smash could have got eliminations if he could headshot. But because he's on a controller, because Amos targets the body, he literally couldn't find those final blows.
It's unfortunate right there. Up in the sky we go. Ensong Inferno comes in heavy. Vision. Zelo's going to find 1 and 2. Keeping eyes on to Madara, who's using that portal as a wall. Very smart play there. Make sure you're doing that with those portals. Use them to cut LOS. Line of sight. Vision. Going to find Madara, though. And now, 3 minutes on to push this not very far. This is looking in FlyQuest's favor. Can DarkZero shut this down?
I mean, not to harp on that a little bit too much, but that is insane. I've never actually seen that before. Smash is a great player. I didn't realize that was actually a huge limitation for controller players. Usually we'd see a Bucky player headshot, in the group training prison, and maybe you can get eliminations with some good target focus, maybe with the damage increase from headshots. But he literally couldn't, Chib. He couldn't aim there. It was hard.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't even think there's a ton of, when you're playing controller on PC, I'm not sure there's a ton of aim assist even in the first place. But
true.
Either way, it's tough to get the sticks up there and onto the domes and
they don't touch
walk in.
Oh my goodness. What a round.
Yeah, I can't believe that. That's tough. That's just a sign of mental crumbling right there, unfortunately. Just everybody looking at Venom, the conversation of who's on point, maybe slipping through and walking right through the point there is a tough look.
It was always going to be hard too, because if we look at the third phase, I think the cart didn't make it past that choke under the bridge.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Either way,
it never favors the defense, and that goes back to FlyQuest's defense. The only time we saw them lose was a mental lapse in their case, Shib. They only lost a fight because Energy went towards the spawn door and people were trying to clutch without him. That is it, right? Throughout the series, that was just start to finish, FlyQuest dominated. And you can maybe change things up in the composition. I would like that out of the ban phase, out of the draft phase. But going up 2 in this series might just be the nail in the coffin, right? We'll have to find out. DarkZero still have a shot for sure. But now that we're adapting this late, and also that FlyQuest just looked this good, that's the scary part. What are you going to ban? You're going to ban some of Energy's heroes. You're going to ban the Bucky. You're going to ban the Phoenix. Maybe you ban, I don't know. I guess we haven't forced them on Torch. That would not be a bad thing because FlyQuest really haven't played a ton of Torch. But at the current moment, I mean, this team just in the front to back style with Spark Chief playing the Venom or Cap, and then Vest kind of anchoring down on that front line and basically anything he wants. I mean, this team just looks pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean, it's lights out. And again, we talked about the success of Energy. Vest going to get an MVP there, but 13 finals from Vision in the sky with Ultron. And, you do have the double pocket there with Cooper and Zelos going to be on that Invis and Luna, respectively. It's very difficult to take out an Ultron in the sky who has that kind of protection and can just absolutely walk the backline as we're looking at Vision here, getting a few. But 13 finals, 23k damage there on Ultron is obscene. Rye with 24 on Ultron as well, clearly playing well, 6 finals. But again, Vest here, 32 and 3. We saw some of those big Meteor M's. 8 finals, doing what Vest does with those shields.
He's the anchor of the squad at the current moment alongside Spark Chief, right? He's the one that sort of hunkers down that objective. And I think you've talked about it, and I believe some other people in the community have talked about how, some of the Vanguards have different roles, right? And how you kind of always want an anchor. In this case, Magneto's sort of in that boat, right, Shib? And then maybe even Emma Frost, these Groot. These are all sort of the anchor tanks, and on the opposite side you have Venom, dive tanks and stuff, right? Who still want to come back. Cap, yep. They want to go for the dive setup plays and stuff. So at the moment, FlyQuest understand their win conditions so well, man. They just play 2 different comps. It's kind of in a similar fashion, right? They're kind of similar trajectory in how they work, right? But they still played it to such a high level, and FlyQuest looked good.
Yeah, again, Fly looking dominant. A little bit of a mistake there on their part. Almost cost them at least a point. But again, on their attack, looking lights out, especially there on point 2. We are going to see what happens on game 3. Will this be our third 3-0 of the day? Find out after this break. Welcome back, everyone. FlyQuest being a top seed for a reason, and I love what I'm seeing over there. Dogman, what's going on, brother?
Well, I mean, the one criticism we have of North American casters is we're not biased enough. That's the thing. Over in Europe, every time the casters talk, they're just like, oh my God, it's such a shame that we're only getting 3 teams to Atlanta. Well, listen here, buddy. We get 4 teams to Atlanta. You Europeans, you just got to stay on your side of the pond, okay? Stay crap. Stay over there and lose at the Atlanta land, baby, because it's coming home. No, just kidding, actually. There's actually a lot of, I believe, Mexican players and also Canadian players on so that's not exactly optimal, but they are playing for land, right? That's the most important thing. Both of these teams, DarkZero and FlyQuest, that's the point. FlyQuest could maybe make it to land right now. They could get North America or the American region at large at land in Atlanta if they were to win right now versus DarkZero.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. I mean, again, we talk about nerves. I'm sure right now they're feeling confident. Being up 2, it does put you in a different space, right? But again, there's a lot on the line here. Just the opportunity to go there, being in person in front of a crowd in a serious environment with $1 million prize pool is so many huge things to announce at the same time, and to be there live is a whole nother level. So yeah, that's what these teams are looking for, and the dreams will not be cut here for whoever does lose this. Maybe there is a reverse sweep. We could see DZ pull something out of a hat here and show up, but yeah, Fly at the moment 2-0, looking like their odds of going to land are very high.
Yeah, they look like they're gonna win, but DarkZero has a good shot here, and I hope that gets clipped out of context, right? Because we already know Europe is the best, right? Like at the moment, they won the midseason, they have all of the bragging rights, and they look good, right? Now they get one of the best teams in VP making the land as the 1 seed. I mean, that's gonna be an exciting region to watch. It does actually suck. There's only 3 slots for Europe, but maybe they can get 4, right? Depending on some external issues that might happen potentially. We'll see. But at the current moment, FlyQuest trying to close on DarkZero. DarkZero have to reverse sweep here, Shib. From what we've seen out of DarkZero, right? What is their biggest strength? I don't know. Like, we've seen them in the past. How do they come back here, Shib? Because, like, the draft phase, is it too late now, right? Is it too late for them to come back?
Yeah, I think we need to see a change in draft 1 for sure. I think we can't rinse repeat the same thing. I just to try to shake something up at this point, it's more not necessarily desperation, but if it is broke, fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right now it's broke. Time to start fixing things a little bit, change some stuff up. We saw their compositional change there even on 2, and they came out and won 2 fights straight. So maybe that's it. Go to something a little more traditional, shake things up a bit, see if that's working out for you. But again, it's a difficult thing where I'm not there in the driver's seat. I'm not there during these scrims. It's very much their decision, and I know this team has what it takes, but they've got to show up now. They need this win to progress forward and keep this series alive. FlyQuest up 2-0 heading into map 3.
And trying to close out, man. I think at the moment, I mean, there's this sort of thing that there's sort of a meme, internal meme for pro players, and I think it's transitioned over to Marvel Rivals players, but I think it's by the head coach of Envy, actually, of Gator. When we would practice on the Atlanta Rain and we would like do well in scrims and stuff, like we would sometimes lose official matches, and then it was like, damn, what happened in that upcoming week? Well, sometimes you can get baited, right? Sometimes by beating bad teams in practice and by beating other teams that are maybe out of the tournament so far in practice, you get sort of confident in your comp and you assume it's good, like the Jeff stuff that we've seen so far. So they probably practiced this Jeff comp a ton, but as Coach Gator would say, maybe they got baited this week, right? Maybe teams that counter Jeff compositions are better, and it's just tough because not many teams are doing it besides FlyQuest, if any. So feeling baited in this case versus FlyQuest if they're committing yet again, and it looks like they are.
Yeah, it does look like the case. Again, double Ultron lock in. No doubt we are going to see the same matchup once more. Stat lines in terms of damage were very similar. Rye actually coming out on top there on the Ultron. Clearly very strong, right? Amazing's hero pool is absolutely crazy. It's a hero ocean. Again, we talk about, can ban a hero pool, can't ban a hero ocean. It's definitely one of those players. Goodbye to Torch, though, which again, in terms of duelists, likely still the most banned duelist, but Star-Lord's been taking a place up there, similar to Phoenix. There's a lot of strong duelists as well, but again, Strategist seemingly still taking the mantle of most banned by far.
Oh my God, Shib, they're doing it. Is this the first Bucky ban we've seen in the tournament? I think it.
Yeah, I think it actually might be.
Wow. I mean, that's
close. There might be a few, but still, either way, very uncommon.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I like it, but also, I don't know, man. I mean, they get the Emma for the first time, I think, this series for FlyQuest. The biggest thing is it's interesting because we're going to Midtown, right? Maybe this sort of changes up the composition a little bit. I wouldn't have personally minded a little bit more focus, maybe towards Energy / Vision's hero pool. Nobody targeting a lot of the Vanguards this time around. You do have that Doctor Strange ban for FlyQuest, making sure that DarkZero cannot play that hero to make sure they can't, you know, make sure to play the triple, right, in touch quickly. But yes, we have confirmation from Patrick from EFG that this is the first time we get to see that Bucky ban, Shib, like you said.
That is aura right there for Energy. I'll tell you that, if that's going to be the case. So big, you know, and personally, as somebody who plays a lot of Vanguard, I love that ban. You know what I'm saying? I personally think that ban is, although, you know, granted to this level of play, I get it, not the top of the charts in terms of what you want to ban out, especially with the current meta. But you know, Bucky is a pain, insanely strong. And to me, I'm cool with it, man. If I'm going to try to shake stuff up like we said, that is one way of shaking things up here. But we'll see what the choice is going to be. Again, very much odds are going to be a triple comp for the hold. Spark Chief going to be on the Thor. The Thor mains are rejoicing as the hammer is out and ready to bonk the domes of DarkZero. Here we go again on the defense.
Yeah, you're right, bonk. In the moment, Spark Chief has been that sort of guy that keeps playing the Thor in these triple compositions. It makes sense. I mean, we heard Kalush talk about it. He does so much damage, Thor does. And definitely is an underrated hero for sure.
Yeah, there's a tackle off rip here on the Spark, who does get thrown right back onto the high side. Now, Vest just maintaining point. You talked about anchoring, and Emma does a great job of that around these points. Just play around the point, and you can be a threat to anyone who tries to overextend and press you a bit when you have that grab up and ready to just punt them into the wall. Zelos with a pick there on Impunity, and use Force Physics to keep him right on top of that circle smash. Going to be taking out Spark Chief, though, who is going to be on that Bucky on the side of DarkZero, finding one to trade it evenly. Spark Chief going to have to come back there on the Thor, unfortunately. Thor main's not loving to see that early pick. Madara gonna find Vest though, and now Numbers back on the side of DarkZero, who honestly are walking at this point and owning this pressure with those Groot walls.
Yeah, I mean, their biggest thing is the Groot walls, like you said, and then also they're just relying on outward pressure, and boom, there it is. Energy falls. FlyQuest maybe relying a little bit more on the Force Physics from Zelos and stuff. In this case, it doesn't work out until Cooper copies Adam Warlock, rises everybody back, and also look at Visions, who just dies or goes down there, but he still has the cocoon and gets brought back by Cooper's res, so he can go for his resurrection whenever he wants.
Yeah, out goes the Psionic Seduction, and Rymazing coming here with Punisher, who does a good job against Triple. Gets no, as Energy finds a two-piece there. Zelos onto Impunity, and we keep seeing these duelists jump on a Magneto and hit huge ults. That was a massive play there by Energy to find two.
Yeah, this series, I think, is securing Energy's position as a top duelist, if not the best duelist in North America. We talk about Speedery, you know, how good he is and how good he was on Magneto. Energy's doing the exact same things that we saw out of Speedery at the current moment.
Yeah, it's tough to run Punisher into a strong Magneto that can keep in. You can see alt pace, right? Both at 37, 42, trying to stay on pace the whole time, ready to counter that Punisher alt every time Final Judgment gets dunked on. Spark Chief comes finds Rymazing, and oh man, cannot catch a break. Vision onto Velocity. FlyQuest with any comp are just looking clean right now. DarkZero got to keep this moving forward, but now again, there's a guaranteed Meteor M to stop that Final Judgment from Rymazing. Just to, you know, the problem again is you want that bubble there to have some sort of solution or a shield, but there's no real duelist to help, or excuse me, Vanguard to help from DarkZero.
And Energy just ate that ult. He just ate the Impunity ult right there on the main side. So rest in peace, that Groot ultimate. And look whose ults are up now. Cooper also with the res, knowing his team goes down, reses them back. This is the second time he's been able to do that, by the way. Smash now gets the resets, though. We've seen Bucky's go huge. But how many eliminations he's going to have to get back to back, Shib? He's going to have to go harder than Terra ever has.
And 1-2 goes down. Is going to have to drop back to the team as Meteor M goes up and still finds Smash. And that was crazy prediction right there, understanding when that was going to come out. But now you will not have an answer here for the Final Judgment coming out for Rymazing, who's very low in HP at the moment of the back line, waiting to be healed up. Kurova going to have to drop back, but Spark Chief going to find that pick as well. And again, some big Thor play here by Spark, who's playing hyper aggro here with the bubble. Going to look for more on the back line. Vest finds Velocity now, and wow, FlyQuest again on this hold. 30 seconds on. DarkZero's got to step it up here and make a big play. But again, two ults up here for FlyQuest. Vision is holding on and ready for another Karmic Revival, bringing everyone back in the fight if anyone goes down here.
Yeah, Cooper's close to another one. And it's funny because, yeah, Vision is the Adam Warlock player, and he hasn't even been able to use the Karmic Rival because Cooper's building his ult so fast. This is the third one he's going to build, the copy, that is. But we might as well just assume the Loki is the Adam Warlock. 1-to-1, Sparks you from the sky, too. Comes down with the hammer.
Yeah, and that bubble does come through as Impunity makes that change there. Cooper going to find Madara, Vest on a Amazing, Vest on a Kurova, Vision on a Velocity, and that is now in the danger zone. OT ticking down. Will DarkZero be able to get there? Amazing is now going to be on the Spider, just touch point, holding on for as long as possible, juking around the point, but not for long, and they will be held just meters outside of the spawn door.
Ooh, I mean, this team looks so good, FlyQuest does right now. I mean, it's a good meta for them, first of all. Ban phases are going well for them. The draft phase has been perfect, basically. I mean, they keep getting this Jeff ban, and they don't even really care about that. I know Vision's a good Jeff, too. But this is a really good patch for them at the current moment. I mean, FlyQuest has been able to play front-to-back style. They're also sort of able to play like a pseudo-dive. We saw DarkZero commit hard dive, same thing with Sentinels, but at the moment, I mean, this maybe also bodes well for 100 Thieves later today, which is the next series we watch, because, I mean, this front-to-back style, even though, you know, they're doing it with triple strategist a lot of the times for FlyQuest, it looks like they're very good at it, and the current moment, I don't think there's much you can really say for DarkZero that's, like, overly negative, I guess. It's just that more so that FlyQuest just looks so good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I think they're just playing lights out right now. It's just, if there are mistakes, they are being turned around with something like a revival and bringing everyone right back. The double revival there with that triple comp, and hyper aggro Thor with a consistent bubble there from Energy was wild to witness. A couple picks there in the ultimate, playing just all over the back line, not allowing Amazing to move forward there on the Punisher. You know, forced to switch over to the Magneto to get bubble just to try to hold on a little bit on the point. I mean, they looked just dominant, and FlyQuest is looking like the chances of going to Atlanta are pretty much through the roof, but DarkZero does have what it takes in terms of skill. Can they make it happen now, as already you got to think they're working their way to already a fourth of the way in terms of distance they need to get.
And the tough part is for FlyQuest, I mean, or at least for DarkZero, they're going to be against so much damage. We actually saw comps like this work out for Rad earlier, where they had sort of like you know, hardcore Moon Knight compositions, and FlyQuest are one of the better teams at playing this slow front-to-back style. We'll see if DarkZero can handle it.
Yeah, and this is more traditional in terms of how to go against the triple. We talked about this yesterday, where you do have that damage boost with somebody that's strong on Moon Knight. Energy, again, talking about a hero, Ocean, now is on the Moon Knight making big plays. Vision gonna find a two-piece there. Energy walking forward like a vanguard, owning the space, and at this point, it's likely ticking down. I don't think the portal could come through. FlyQuest lights out here in this series, 3-0.
And that qualifies them for Atlanta. FlyQuest get over the curse of stage 1, make it into stage 2, and, you know, passes with flying colors across the board. It's funny how Moon Knight mains, I think a lot of them, you know, compete for speed running, you know, world record. Maybe Energy in that case, it was below 30 seconds. I didn't get the exact number, but he built that thing up so fast. And I know people keep clipping that, right? It's always like, oh my God, this Moon Knight built so quickly, right? But that's that's what the character does, right? So that's the entire point, and Energy does it pretty well. Whole squad played well today's shift. Not much to say about it besides FlyQuest are going to land. And if they, you know what, the meta could change, right? That could change up the dynamic of things, but at the current moment, they look like the best team in North America, and, you know, they're going to have a chance to prove it at Atlanta.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. Currently looking like the best team in the Americas region, and I know teams want to take that mantle from them, but Atlanta is calling. FlyQuest is going to the grand finals. I cannot imagine the hype right now in that room as they are together. I'm sure everybody dapping each other up, getting up. I know even you and I in midseason were so stoked to be there. I'm sure they are going to be amped themselves. Congratulations to FlyQuest. Honestly, very well deserved in that series.
Yeah, this team is scary. We'll have to see who wins in the next series between 100 Thieves and Team Envy, because, I mean, Envy, I'm not going to say they got smoked by FlyQuest earlier, but it was still pretty handedly in favor of FlyQuest, right? Like, taking a look at that series, it was pretty much all FlyQuest, right? And, you know, it's the borderline, like things like the hero pool and stuff, right? Vision's been perfect on basically all of these off strategists. But Energy was sort of this mainstay for today. He definitely deserves, I think, an overall day MVP. He just had a whole, he closed it out for them, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Just consistent top work in terms of finals and damage. Granted, not a ton of finals in that match. It was a very short one. It's actually the second time we've seen Midtown be incredibly short here today, and they close that out in just minutes. They're holding on, shutting it down before they can even get to the bridge, and portal plays even happening, and then walking right through after one fight. So again, really well played. Shows just a dominant force of a team, and they are looking like a team that could handle these big teams coming up here in the Worlds.
Yeah, we're entering a phase of Marvel Rivals where it's like, I don't know if we're going to see too much more cheese sort of come out, right? Like, it feels like the team's stage one ship, like when they played like the Black Panther stuff, we saw FlyQuest lose to that, right? We saw Self for Team Odyssey pop the heck off back then. Nowadays, I don't know if that's really happening, right? People can target ban, it feels like, and we're not seeing as much of that Black Panther stuff anymore. We're just seeing pure dominance from these teams that, or at least for FlyQuest's sake, don't make any mistakes.
And that's the beauty of potentially seeing some new patches coming up here as we head to the next tournament, and seeing new metas develop and weird strategies come into play that maybe are meta or are just so surprising teams do not know how to handle it. But we are heading into the interview here shortly. We'll wait for that to pop up on screen, but congratulations to whoever we have joining us. Welcome in, buddy. How you doing today?
Hello.
How you feeling?
You guys as a team. You guys got to be
feeling good
right now, no?
Yeah, we're so excited. We just jumped around, we hugged each other, we're good. It was a good win. it was not that bad. We're happy.
I bet. Well, and expectations are kind of getting higher for you. Like, you guys all look freaking like dead from now. Like, I'm like looking across the board. I see Dill back there. What's up, legit? You guys are looking very serious at the current moment, because the expectations are rising for you guys. I mean, I imagine in practice it's kind of the same thing. Probably not losing too much in scrims. I don't know. What can you talk about it for you guys? And for you too, Visions, going from a team like Shroud now going over to FlyQuest and being a part of such a good team, what does that mean for somebody like you to finally be able to prove your talent?
I mean, it means everything to me. I've always wanted to be this dominant in this game and achieve the things I'm doing now. And, I'm nothing but more proud for me and my team. What we're doing in scrims and what we're doing in matches, like, we're just dominating everything right now. Everybody knows we're the scrim team. We're cashing the scrim bucks is what we like to call it. We're winning. we're very happy. We're very proud.
You know what? I'm sure the Americas region are proud of y'all as well. Obviously, a huge run there on the lower side bracket in stage one, and unfortunately not making it to the mid-season. But now, just absolute dominant performance heading to Worlds, boys, is super exciting. But I've got to ask you, you're headed to Atlanta. Have you looked at the competition at all? Who you may be playing, or is that something you're holding off on? And if there are competition you're worried about, who are they?
If anything, right now, probably Virtus Pro. They're the dominant EU team. They just won that tournament. They're good friends of ours too, though. But I mean, that's like the only team we are too concerned about. We're not really that concerned, but they're a very good team. We go neck and neck in scrims. It's always good. But yeah, that's the only one.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to see. And well, I guess because we probably don't have too much time left, Visions, for you guys, and you guys want to get ready for obviously your next match tomorrow. Does anyone back there want to say anything? It looks like everybody's just aura farming, dude. Like, they're just all staring forward. Like, nobody's
anybody want to say anything? Or no?
Does anybody? There we go. There you go.
They're just happy. They're happy to be here. They're happy.
They broke. They finally broke. That's hilarious.
Legit says
Visions,
hi.
Oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, it's good to see you.
What's going on?
Vision, do you want to say anything, by the way, real quick? Any shout outs, anything? Obviously, you guys look very happy back there. But you guys have, it's still, job's not done, I imagine, for you, but anything you want to shout out or say for your squad or you yourself?
I'd like to shout out my team, especially shout out to my mom, my dad, my whole family supporting me in this journey. And some shout out to all my past teammates for helping me grow as a player. That's about it.
Awesome. Well, congrats again, guys. You've got to be excited. I'm sure everybody's looking forward to seeing how you perform there in Worlds live in person. So again, congrats. What a dominant performance today. Looked lights out, and you guys are still locked in. I've never seen a team stay so locked consistently. That is awesome to see. So have some fun, man. Relax. I'm sure you guys are going to have eyes on to the next match coming up here, and we look forward to watching.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vision. Thanks, Squad from FlyQuest. It's so funny.
So locked in, dude.
I
You're
can't.
ready for it.
I can't, dude. I can't. That's great. That's how you know the vibes are solid over there, right? If everybody is not